Wesley. Are we doing this live?
It's live. You know that it's live, right?
Let's just do it live.
It's like I'm watching I'm watching the countdown, and it's like, oh, it's reconnecting. I'm like, what? Who's reconnecting? You're reconnecting. I'm reconnecting. Hey, we are live. This is Wesley Kronick,
Down 3
Evan
4 times.
Dr. Evan Wallace. PhD
How are you
in
now,
physics.
Wesley?
I'm great. I'm in the Philippines. How about you?
I'm still in Seattle, eagerly awaiting your return to Seattle on Monday.
In a matter of days. I'm like a day ahead.
Days.
So I leave on the 26th and I arrive on the 26th. So
I think that means I have one more with you.
I'm going to be flying at 32,000 feet at approximately 400 miles an hour.
I'll be waiting to pick you up at the airport in my Mini Cooper with one flat tire.
When you're running flat. With your run flat tire. That's got to be a commercial in and of itself. You've been putting in hundreds of miles on the Mini Cooper run flat tire.
160 miles yesterday on a flat tire. That should be worth something.
That is a testament. I paid a lot for those tires. I remember, like, seriously, you run flats? Yeah, that's what's required because it doesn't have a spare. It just doesn't have a spare.
Yeah, I looked it up online today. It's a $1,400 set of tires.
Yeah, no, it was really expensive. They were, they were like $300 each for those tires.
Yeah, $200 to $300. Chances to pick you up at the airport. We'll see how it works out.
The run flat.
We may make it home. We may not.
We may not. We may just get stranded there at some restaurant bar or something like that. So
I have to stop Poodle Dog in Fife.
I'm in Manila at the moment in my old neighborhood here, Makati Palace, and I'm bringing all of my blogging gear so we can actually start producing some content, and hopefully the connection's a little bit better. So, and you upgraded yours, like you've got a full-on studio now.
I don't look so much like the ghost of Christmas Past.
You did look like the ghost of Christmas Past there. I don't know what was.
When you suggested that I try to rig up my digital camera as a webcam to improve my countenance, my appearance, and I couldn't get it to work. I stayed up all Sunday night, 2.5, 3 hours, and I couldn't get it to work, and I couldn't get it to work, and I couldn't get it to work. Well, apparently it was working the whole time. And I was live streaming on Facebook, and I look at my phone. I've got like 15 text messages. I think you're inadvertently live streaming. I'm like picking my nose and scratching myself. It's humiliating.
Well, it could have been worse. As in, like I said, it could have been viral. You could have been.
Well, thank God for small favors.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Jeffrey Toobin incident.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we're stacking up the guests here. We got some viewers on. Look at that. So
I was thinking the theme of this should be humiliating origin stories of entrepreneurs.
Oh, part one.
Part
It's going to be a lot. Part two. There's going to be a lot of that. A lot of that go on. You had a story to tell that I haven't heard, and after 20 odd years, 20, 23, 24 years, it's rare for me to come across a story I haven't heard. So
there are some
you know
stories
what?
there are some stories that are so humiliating that they just stay in the lockbox.
If I do that gesture, my face, you're gonna see my nose. I've got my ob spot tail. No,
Yeah,
it's not tracking anymore. It was tracking.
you're way
Okay.
more.
All right. So
I'm trying to think of which humiliating story to tell, because there's so many. But we'll go in chronological order.
This is a family. I do have a family friendly channel, just to let you know.
These are all family friendly.
Oh, then what are we doing here?
So in 1994, I had the first prototype of what would become the Perlage system, and it was absolutely ridiculous. It was an absolutely ridiculous contraption that would have had a market penetration of maybe 1 or 2 units, and those would have been to my parents out of.
I know I didn't get one.
It was it's too embarrassing to go into the details, but I had this great idea that if I could make a keg that would dispense champagne.
Oh,
that would
now you're thinking big.
Well, I was thinking big, but then I realized, well, okay, champagne doesn't come in kegs. So you have to buy the champagne and put it in the keg and then redispense it out of the keg. I know now it seems absolutely absurd, but at the time I thought I was brilliant.
Well, you weren't too far away from the Franzia boxed wine concept, right?
I know one could say I was a little ahead of my time, but I'm not even going to be that generous to myself. It was just a ridiculous idea.
Now, just a quick segue on that. Didn't wine companies later on switch to a Cornelius?
Yes, they did.
Okay, for their wine.
Yes, they did. But that was 20 years later. So I was ahead of the.
Well, that's what I was saying. You're ahead of your time, because the Cornelius wine in the Cornelius keg, I never heard that before. And if you're talking about that 20 years ago, I think you were just this far away from.
But it was it was not out of foresight or intelligence. It was out of complete simple ignorance and perhaps vanity, thinking I'd invented something. It was atrocious. It was a contraption. It was a Cornelius keg with tubes coming off the top to a valve and more valves connecting a cross piece, and one connected to a CO2 tank and the other to a bottle. And then if you went out and bought a case of champagne, you could open all the champagne, put it in the keg, and then redispense it into a bottle under counter pressure.
Wait, you said it's connected to a bottle, not connected just to a hose gun?
No, you heard right. It's absolutely as absurd as I described it. Go out and buy a case of champagne, open up all the champagne, pour it into the keg, and then redispense it back into the bottle.
Now, just out of curiosity, this was not around the time of Ghostbusters 1 or 2?
It absolutely could have been. I had 2 young daughters at the time, and I wasn't watching the movies. I didn't know what Ghostbusters was, but I kind of understood why people were giggling when I showed them this, because oh, you saw Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it totally looks like a Ghostbuster setup. The only thing that we'd be lacking is the overalls, and then that long whatever ambulance hearse, whatever that thing is that they're driving. You pop out and you're like da 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 da, dispensing champagne everywhere.
It was absolutely. I mean, it was. In retrospect, it was absolutely absurd. Why would you buy a case of champagne, pour it into a keg, and then redispense it back into the bottle so you then pour it into a glass. I know. But what it did do was I was able to investigate the stability of champagne over time after the bottle had been opened, though it was in a keg and not in the original bottle.
Okay.
I thought I had a tiger by the tail, and so I called up went to the Yellow Pages. That was back when.
Oh yeah.
It was really a couple years before the internet. So I went to the Yellow Pages, and I found a little known product design firm called Stratos Incorporated.
Okay.
And they happened to be in the neighborhood. I live in the market, Pike Place Market, and they're just up the street at Marketplace North in the top penthouse of the building. I thought, okay, well, that's only like a 3-block walk. That way I won't have to get a cab. And so I got an appointment with them. And then I did a little more reading up on them. And it turned out this little local design firm, Stratos, they had actually designed the first Microsoft mouse. You know, the one that looked like a Dove bar.
Oh yeah. Wow. Really?
So they were flush with cash. They just developed the first Microsoft mouse. It was a huge deal. I mean, you remember that.
Oh yeah.
So I thought I was walking to a little mom and pop, design shop, and they were like one of the most well-known industrial design firms in the world at that time because they designed the iconic Microsoft mouse.
Yep. Wow.
So I put on a suit and tie, and I put a 5-gallon. This is in August 1994. 5.
Okay.
I put on a suit and tie. I put on my backpack. And I put this 5-gallon Cornelius keg with 3 gallons of champagne in it in my backpack, along with a 5-pound steel CO2 tank, a regulator. So this is like 55, 60 pounds of gear in a backpack.
The 5-pound Cornelius, or the 5-gallon Cornelius?
A 5-pound CO2 tank. And a 5-gallon Cornelius keg with about 3 gallons of liquid. So champagne is 82 pounds per gallon, and so that's 24
so
pounds.
You got 50
right
pounds. You got 50 pounds of stuff here.
55. And if you know my neighborhood, I'm walking north on Western Avenue, which is uphill, and it's August, and I've got a suit and tie on. So I'm staggering up Western Avenue in 85-degree heat, with a suit and tie on, and I'm just sweating. I get to their office, I'm red in the face, I'm huffing and puffing, and a very nice woman takes me up to their conference room, which is beautiful, top floor conference room, windows all around, 15-foot long teak table, and I get all set up with my ridiculous contraption. And of course, they make you wait because they want to feel important, and so I'm sitting there, twiddling my thumbs, and then 5 people file in the room. Yes, Mr. Wallace. And I do my whole explanation of I have a way to preserve champagne so that people can open a bottle of champagne and never have to worry about the waste. And I'm talking, and I've got a slide presentation, and I see one of them pointing at me, and I go, "What?" He says, "Point," and he's pointing at my pocket. He's pointing at a sheet. It's like pointing at, look, and my fountain pen had burst in my pocket of my white shirt. So I have this cascade of blue ink dripping down my shirt.
Oh no!
I do this.
You didn't quite nerd the pocket protector.
I kind of brush off my shirt, and then I rub my face. Now I've got ink on my face.
That's right out of a skit.
So now they're going, "Oh, why don't you just show us how this works?" So it's okay. Now I've got ink on my face. My shirt is blue. and I now I'm kind of nervous. I'm still sweating and I'm tired and I'm nervous. And this contraption has 5 valves, and I hook it up to the CO2 tank. And now, in the pressure of the moment, because it's one of my first presentations, I forget which order to turn on and shut off these high pressure valves to make the champagne dispense. So I turned the wrong sequence of valves, and the hose that's connected to the tank. You know what a water weenie is? That toy you had when a kid in the garden hose and go.
Yes, all over the place.
I turned the valves in the wrong order, and one of the tubes breaks and pops off. And this hose from this like 5-foot hose to the champagne keg started spraying the entire conference room like a fire hose
with champagne
with 70 psi, 70 pounds per inch of champagne, and people are diving under the and they're like, and it's making a noise because it's like hype. It's like, and the keg is on top of. I can't grab the end of the hose, and this 5-gallon keg, which is 3 feet tall, is on top of the conference table, and I grab it and I wrestle it under the table. And finally, the champagne, all 3 gallons I had in the keg, is now gone. And finally, the champagne is gone. There's champagne dripping off the ceiling, running down the window. And everyone's everyone's under the conference table, huddled under the conference table, and I have a handkerchief in my pocket. And I'm going, oh, I'm so terribly sorry. And I'm under the table. I'm mopping off the shoes of the CEO. I'm so terribly sorry. And I'm wiping. He said, don't touch me. Don't touch me. It's fine. It's my shoes are fine. Don't touch me. And I'm going, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm under the table wiping off people's shoes with my handkerchief. And, no, don't touch me. You're fine. And because I had my pen broke and I had ink on my face, the champagne is dissolved. The ink, and now my entire face is blue. My entire shirt is blue. I'm dripping in champagne, and it was the most humiliating experience. They're saying, "Okay, Mr. Wallace, you can go. We will contact you. We will contact you." Needless to say,
that's hilarious. They never contacted you. Well,
it's just as well I couldn't.
That's for the best.
Anyway. That was like a high-end design firm.
Well, it couldn't have been as high-end as us. Just saying. I mean, I didn't invent the Microsoft mouse, but we have landing pages.
Here's the thing. There's a lesson in the story, and that's the lesson is:
listen up, children. Listen up.
Here's an important lesson. The most valuable asset you have as an entrepreneur, the most valuable asset you have as an entrepreneur is ignorance. When you don't know how hard it is, you do it. So I can't even imagine now going into that same situation with this ridiculous contraption.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of it now and I just go, oh my God, how can I even think that I should do that? But when you don't know any better.
You
will forge ahead. You will run into the fire to make it happen. And that's like, I'm dead serious. Your best asset as an entrepreneur is not knowledge. It's not knowledge of the market. It's not knowledge of technology. Is not knowing what you can't do. is
Oh yeah,
ignorance.
for sure.
For lack of a better word,
sheer ignorance. Yep.
Sheer ignorance. And let me make a distinction. Not tenacity, not grit, because that implies that you know something and you're going to weather through it. I'm talking about unadulterated, 99% pure ignorance. Like literally, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know that you don't know it. It's like meta ignorance. You don't even know that you're ignorant. Swear to God, if I had to give any piece of advice to a budding entrepreneur, I'd say do it now before you realize you can't do it.
Yeah. Yep. Well,
right?
I mean, honestly, I mean, if you like follow any of these entrepreneurial gurus and stuff like that, and they tell you there is an entire path of people telling you you can't do it. Now, part of that is wisdom. Some people are like going, yeah, I wouldn't do that. Another part is just, I mean, there's just stupid people who can't see vision. So as an entrepreneur, you have to sort out, who you listen to or who you don't listen to. And then oftentimes you just like, you know what, this is going to happen. But you don't get to where you're going unless you have those types of moments and you work through them. I mean, if you were to quit, there you go. If you quit, you quit, right? But
well, I've learned the one person you shouldn't listen to is your mother, because she'll tell you everything you're doing is fantastic. And I had a mutual friend. I'll call him out by name. You know my friend John Fitzpatrick. We met him a couple times.
Oh yeah.
My nickname for him was Dr. No, because I'd tell him my grand ideas. I've known him since junior high, and so for 40 years I would tell him, yeah, I would like to do this. And he said, Evan, here's 25 reasons why that won't work, and I'll be god danged if he didn't tick them off. And that he will figure into the next embarrassing story that we tell on this podcast. To foreshadow, we'll tell the story of the three little bears.
I've only heard a couple of bear stories from you, and those are not family friendly. So
all my stories are family friendly.
They don't end well sometimes.
Oh heck, I'll just tell the story.
Okay.
So this story is not that funny. It's only funny to me. So when I finally had the fully fleshed out idea for Perlage, not fully fleshed out, but I had the idea that was sufficiently in the vernacular of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, the USPTO, that was sufficiently unique and unique and to somebody studied in the art is the terminology they use. So an idea that was unique to somebody who was studied in the art. So I decided, okay, I'm going to try for a patent on this idea. I didn't have any money, and lawyers cost money. So I went to the only friend I knew who had money, who worked for Microsoft. He was one direct report away from Bill Gates. I think he reported to Peter Newport, the Prince of Darkness, at Microsoft. So my friend John was a bigwig at Microsoft. He reported to the guy who reported to Bill Gates, and so he is the only friend I'm 32 or 33, and he's the only friend I know who's actually made money yet. So I go to him. I drive to his office one night in my Honda Civic hatchback, and I meet with him because he's working late because he's a big shot and he's working 18 hours a day. And I meet him at his office. I said, hey John, I need $10,000 for the down payment to this intellectual property attorney to start the patent process on the Perlage idea. He said, could you maybe you got, I know you have money and I know this is awkward, but could you front me $10,000 so I could get the process started? And he goes, well, yeah, sure. And he pulls out his checkbook. He said, but lending money to friends is awkward. So I got a better idea. How about if I give you a little job, and you can earn the money, and that way, there won't be that awkwardness of friends lending friends money. He said, so I have a little programming job for you. I said, I could do that. I took a Fortran 4 class in college. So I can do anything you throw at me.
Right.
So he says, great. So he writes me the check for $10,000 and said, I'll be back in touch and I'll tell you what the project is. So great. So I next day I go to my attorney's office. I cash the check. I give him the $10,000 and get the process started. And months pass. I think, oh, great. He's forgotten about that. And then 4 months later, I get a phone call and say, hey, remember that little project we talked about? Let's get started on it. Oh, shit. I kind of hope you, excuse my language. Thought maybe you forgot about that, but okay. So I drive back to his office one night. He said, so here's the little project. I thought I was going to maybe make a little database project of tasks that need to be followed in the office. Like the stapler is out of staples, and put that into a database, and we need more paper here. And I was going to make this little database application of like office tasks. So he goes to the whiteboard and he sketches out this thing. This is a full-blown Windows graphic application that involved, in Windows. Paper that came out of the line printer and 60 workstation.
Yep.
So I had no idea. I literally didn't understand the words that was coming out of his mouth. And then the last thing he said was, and we have to have this done in 4 months because Bill Gates is going to present this at a conference for the European Solution Providers Conference. And so I'm like shell shocked. I'm going, I don't have the heart to tell him I've already spent the money, but I don't have any idea what he's talking about. But so I don't even have a computer. And this application was written in something called a Visual Basic. I didn't even know what. But now I've got to get going. So a couple of days later, I'm at my office, and I developed a strat. Here's what I decided to do. I said, okay, I'm going to call him. So I called him. I said, John, you're not going to believe this, but my computer's on the fritz, and I didn't have a computer. I said, my computer's on the fritz. My hard drive crashed. Can Microsoft maybe loan me a computer for the duration of this project? 30 minutes later, taxi right in front of my building. And then, driver hands me a brand new computer, which happened to have the brand name Bear, Bear. Bear.
Oh, I remember Bear. Yeah. Bear. Yeah. They were a local Redmond company. Right?
When you booted the computer up, there's a little the head of a grizzly bear on the boot up screen. Yep. And so now I had to learn Visual Basic, and so I called him. Hey, John, you're not gonna believe this, but in that I had that flood in my condo last week, and it destroyed all my Visual Basic manuals. So could you send me over the manual for Visual Basic? Like 30 minutes later, taxi pulls up with the full packaged product, with the discs and all, the floppy disks, not CDs.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
So I unboxed my Bear computer, and I'm like, okay, put the floppy, and so I had to load Visual Basic and had to learn Visual Basic, and like a few days later, I did a Hello World app, and I'm going, oh my God, this is horrible. I've got like 6 weeks left. I have to produce this entire thing.
Amazing.
And part of the functionality of this app was, I won't go into the details, but the program was called Solution Providers, and it was a directory to Microsoft resources around the world. So there's a map of the world.
Okay.
You click on
Microsoft Solution Providers. Yep.
Yeah. You click on Europe, and a map of Europe would expand. Then you click on a country, France would expand. Then you click on a city, Paris, and Paris would expand. Then you click on a database, a scrolling database of all the Microsoft partners by neighborhood. Okay.
Yeah, great app at the time for sure.
I had no idea how to do any of that. I didn't no idea how to capture a mouse click or to make, and I didn't know what this thing called how do you spell it? Oh, a JPEG.
Oh.
I didn't know what a JPEG was.
What was it? 90s, early 90s.
Early 90s. I didn't know any of this stuff. So
in the early 90s.
In the process of unboxing my computer, John was telling me about these things called JPEGs. Well, just get JPEGs of maps. Just get JPEGs of. I didn't know what JPEGs were. But when I was looking at in DOS, looking at the root directory of the computer, I saw a graphic for the boot up screen of the bare computer. It was bare.jpg.
Wow.
So I copied, it was just a black and white image of the face of a grizzly bear, and I copied .jpg as a stand-in for the map of the world. And then you click on a region of the world, and then you click. So I made 3 JPEGs of different sizes of this bear head, this black and white bear head. And so, and I finally got to the point where I could make a JPEG come up. And if I clicked on the nose of the grizzly bear, a smaller JPEG of the grizzly bear would come up. And if I clicked on the nose of that grizzly bear, a smaller grizzly bear would come up. So at least I had the functionality of clicking through a map of the world, like
yeah, boom, boom, zoom, zoom.
And I thought I was a rock. I thought I was, I might as well have been Bill Gates. So John calls me for a status report. He said, because we have to show this thing to his boss's boss in like 3 weeks. And so, how's it going? He said, oh, it's going fantastic. It's going just great. So tell me how it's going. He said, well, I got it now. So if the country drill down functionality, if you click on a bear and then you click on this nose, you get another bear. And you click on that nose, you get another bear. I said, it's kind of like the 3 little bears. And I expected him to say, that's fantastic. But what I heard was a very, very long 8 to 10 second silence. And then he said, you're kidding me, right? Because he thought I was a lot further along than that. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm joshing you. Things are great. Yeah, great. He hangs up. So 2 weeks later, I have to show this application in front of his boss's boss, his boss and his boss. And all I have at that point is I have nothing. I've got an app. I add some I figured out how to do the menus, but just fake menus. They didn't connect to anything. And I had to hand draw a map of the world, like literally trace out a map of the world to make a JPEG of the world. Mm-hmm. Then I hand traced out a map of France and made a JPEG out of that. Then I hand did a map of Paris, literally hand traced it because I didn't know how to find JPEG.
Of course, yeah, you can't just Google it.
So, but by the time I had to go over to show this, it kind of looked okay, but there's only like 2 things that worked. You had to click on Europe, and you had to click on France, and you had to click on Paris. Otherwise, there was nothing else that worked. None of the menus that said print, save, none of that worked. And so he says, all right, you got to be here at 7:00. I'm going to show this to the entire gang. And I'm driving over the 520 bridge in my little Honda Civic thinking, this is the end of my life. I'm going to embarrass my best friend. And I'm literally almost in tears, thinking I'm going to be on the corner of First and Pike begging for quarters by 1 o'clock this afternoon. I will have embarrassed my best friend who fronted me the money for this. I'm going to humiliate him in front of his boss and his boss's boss. And my life is over. My life as I know it is over. And I get there, and of course, back then, this wasn't like up on the cloud. I had floppy disks, so I had to install it. You remember trying to install?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to install an app that's not even.
It takes forever.
It's not even an exe yet. I just have the floppy disk of the development environment, and he doesn't have the development environment loaded on his computer, so he can't run the app. So I have to load Visual Basic on his computer. And suddenly, I'm sitting there in a chair, and I can't make this work. And then suddenly, the door opens, and 8 executives, typical Microsoft type A executives, file in the room, and literally, I'm sitting there in the chair, like trying to get this thing to work, and some I don't know who type A. He literally puts his hand on my shoulder, pushes me out of the chair, says, "Let me drive." Pushes me out of the chair.
Oh no!
And so he takes the mouse and he clicks on Europe and clicks on France and clicks on Paris, and that's the only things that work. And he goes, "This rocks." And the guy turns to John, my friend, says, "Who'd you get to do this?" And I'm literally standing in the back of the room with my head to the wall, going, bounding my head against the wall. And the guy says, "John, who'd you get to program this?" And John said, "Oh, just some guy I found hiding in the weeds somewhere." He didn't even introduce me. And then they go, "Oh, this is great, John. Great work." And they file out. So the whole lapse time was 90 seconds. The executives filed in and they filed out. And I'm like, "What just happened?" I said, "Yeah, they thought you did great."
Nice. Man.
And then it went back, and by that time I was actually starting to learn a little bit about programming, and so then it took me another 3 months to finish it up, and eventually it did get presented at a conference somewhere by Bill Gates, and it actually worked. But here's one story I will never tell, but I'm going to tell it anyway.
Oh,
because I thought I was getting quite full of myself, because I could now, after you learn a few things. So I started to I heard about this thing called an Easter egg. So I thought I'd put an Easter egg. Because I was feeling quite clever. So on the map of the US, I grew up in Pasco, Washington. And so I put in this feature where if you clicked on the map where Pasco, Washington is in Southeast Washington in the United States, if you clicked on Pasco, a little hidden dialog box would come up. You had to know it was about where Moses Lake is in Washington.
Yeah. No, I know where Pasco is for sure. Yeah. Drive through it. One side is welcome. The other side is thanks for coming.
Yeah. And if you typed in my home phone number when I was in high school, 547-6116, you would get a picture of Miss April from the 1986 edition of Playboy. And I thought, who would ever be able to find that? So I thought, that would be so obscure. Who would ever click on Pasco? And then the hidden dialog box, where Moses Lake in, and who would know
your phone number?
So I thought, and so this all gets packaged up on CDs, printed, all professionally distributed to 100,000 solution providers around the world. And then after it got started, I was, oh no, oh my God. Because if you go to the app and just go to the file, click on the file system where all the files are, all the executables and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
There was a JPEG called missapril.jpg. Oh, no. And I hadn't thought about that the JPEG were just sitting in the file on the CD.
Oh no.
And apparently nobody ever browsed the file system on the CD, or they would have found missapril.jpg.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Well, we got some people sending us some chats.
That's probably a funnier story to me than it is to anyone else, but anyway.
Oh, you know, the early days of computing are just full of stories. I mean, the only reason why I got into Microsoft products is because the one internet provider in Madison, Wisconsin, at the time I had 2 internet cafes. I mean, I had internet cafes, and there was only 3 of us in the world, one in the UK, one in Bay Area, and one in myself. And I ran a Windows laptop, and the internet provider, every time they would get something from Microsoft, before they threw it in the garbage, they would call me up and ask me, "Hey, you run those Windows, don't you?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You want this software?" Sure. So I set up Windows Server. I set up, Microsoft Mail. I set up Exchange. I set up all these applications just in my own little home network and just taught myself networking. That was it. The guy had like little round glasses and like a trailer, a big double wide trailer. He had a whole a room full of modems, bonging away and connecting 28.8, 14.4 modems. And ponytail, of course, he had the ponytail. He hated people, and I remember wanting to get internet connection because I figured out I didn't have internet. So he called me. He goes, "Oh, it's going to take 3 weeks to get your internet." I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Well, it just takes a long time." I didn't realize he just hated people. And so I said, "Well, I have a laptop. I could just bring my computer over there and you can configure it." So I get over there and I see him. He sets up like WinSock and a couple of other programs. And I'm like, "That's it? That's all there is?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Why does it take 3 weeks?" I said, "Hey, here's what I'll do. I'll go out. Any customers that you contact, and if they want to get set up, I'll go up and set up their computers for them. I'll charge them like $200, and they'll be online, and you don't have to deal with them. And if they don't want to pay the $200, and they just want to wait for you to help them out, and walk through the systems, that's fine. It'll be whatever, free." And that's how I got into IT. Literally.
So it wasn't as a result of any grand plan. You just
no, I just saw an opportunity because I wanted to get on the internet, and I waited, and I hate waiting. And so I was just being really pushy, and I said, "Well, I have a laptop. I can just bring my computer right over to your house." And consequently, I traded all my camera gear for this laptop. So this was like a big deal for me. And I ended up getting on the internet and had a built-in modem, like a 2400 baud modem. And
2,400 pounds, my God.
Built into the laptop. That was smoking fast. And then I saw this opportunity, like, "Hey, I'll do all your installations. I'll do all your configurations." So I was running around Madison, Wisconsin, just setting up computer connections, internet connections, making money.
Well, how many sort of cultural and technological revolutions have you been on the forefront of? By my count, it's been coffee
business. Yeah, I was in the coffee business. Yeah.
You explained internet. So you've been
internet. Actually, I had one of the first e-commerce. I had the largest coffee site on the internet. I had baristas.com. And then I had a diet business on the internet, made a bunch of money selling a diet product.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Diet product called Top Fast. That was an interesting thing.
That's practically the oldest profession.
So yeah, I had a diet product, and it was the diet product that launched me into everything else because I learned a bunch of stuff about e-commerce then. And because as a photographer, my daughter's got modeling contracts in New York. So we decided, you know what, the internet's going to be pretty big. Coffee is not hitting it in Madison, Wisconsin. They're just not into lattes yet. Blasting through money.
What year are we talking about here?
94, 93, 94. Yeah. And then from there, went to New York, blasted through money in New York. And at the time, I was like, I need to either make some money or get to work or do whatever, right? And so I ended up applying for a job, and I was on a Friday, and they were like, "Can you start on Monday?" I won't go into what the job was, but it was a huge job. So, yeah. And then I ended up working for I was basically one of the first internet consultants in New York. You know, there's that saying, you know, if you know 50% more than the person across from you, you're the expert. So I was basically in New York. I was like the expert.
In the land of the blind, the one
yeah, exactly. But you know, I thrive personally. I thrive in New York. Not necessarily a great place for families, raising families, but
were you married at the time?
I was married at the time. Yep. I had my 3 daughters, married at the time, living in the Upper East Side in this small little place. And it's just supposed to be a summer, and I ended up spending 2 years there. And personally, I love New York. I loved New York. At the time, New York was just rocking, making a bunch of money. My income was doubling every 6 months. And the opportunities were just, you know, I mean, this was right. I get the same jitters, obviously. And I told you this, I get the same feeling of the mid to late 90s as I do right now with AI.
Well, I tell you, you were on fire with this, and I've only known you since 1997 when I met you at Microsoft. But I've seen you like this really only twice. Once was with Tango.
Oh yeah, no Tango for sure. 4 or 5 hours a day of dancing, 6-7 days a week.
And now with AI, it's it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's about the same thing. I have,
You're head over heels.
I'm head over heels in love with AI for sure. Yeah, no, AI, it just makes me feel like superhuman for sure. The amount of stuff I can get done. I mean, it's like those movies where the guy gets, I don't know, whatever, bit by a bug or something like that.
Yeah, radioactive spider. Now you're Spider-Man, and you can.
Yeah, now you're Spider-Man. Yeah, the amount. I mean, the things that I used to procrastinate on, the things that I used to just could not stand, or I would just put off. Now I get it done in seconds. Like, oh, you need a business plan? Here you go. Here's a business plan. Oh, you need me to take this complex spreadsheet and make it into a pivot table and then give you forecast analysis up in the next 5 years? No problem. You know, just here you go. Here's your document. So,
well, I've been working on our current project for 25 years, all of my adult life, and we're working on this marketing program. And you send me marketing copy that is literally. Like I said, actually, we need some copyright here, and I'm thinking, what should we put here? Then I get this wall of text back.
pick from 5.
Well, I'm still. What should we put here? And then, you've come up with 15 ideas, all of which, well, certainly 14 of which are better than I could have done in the next 8 hours of work.
It is. I was online in Figma with our designer here, working on your site, on your landing pages, and filling out all of the perlage systems last night. Of course, we brought the template over from Perlini into the perlage systems. And so now I'm looking at basically a page full of programming monkeys. My AI monkeys. So our our full stack developer is like, I don't feel comfortable putting programming monkeys on the live site. So I need content. He didn't want to put the programming monkeys on the live site so that we could just go in and swap it later. Remember, we were talking about, why don't we just put it in the template and then edit live, right? Go to the live site, edit before we actually make it public. And he's like, I don't feel comfortable putting the programming monkeys, the AI monkeys, on the site. Let's can we get the collateral now? Can you get me the collateral now? And of course, I don't have the collateral yet, right? So this would have normally taken a full-on photo shoot. You saw the champagne glass and stuff like that we created. And I'm like going, okay, all right. So I get on and now I'm creating the elements and then I'm working with my designer. And of course, the copy was just copied over from the marketing copy was just copied over from the previous Perlini, so that it's not even relevant on the page. And I know he's creating the site right now because we're all working all night long, and so I'm like, okay, so I fire it up, and I'm like, this is the copy that I need, and it literally gives us too much copy. So then I'm like, first paragraph, one sentence shorter, and then hit it. And then it really rewrites the whole thing and removes one sentence out of it just so that we can fit it into the copy spots. I mean, stuff like that is unbelievable. Rewrite this copy and make it one sentence shorter on the first paragraph, leave the second paragraph intact. And it just rewrites it so it sounds good, not just like, oh, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove a sentence. No, it kept the fluidity and the marketing message and the call to action and everything else on there. And so we ended up just jamming through the whole site, updating all the images, updating all the copy and everything else. Something that would have literally taken weeks of back and forth to do. We're doing it online and in real time. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable the amount of work that can be achieved.
I think that particular anecdote you related is a really good example of what I think the power of this is, and getting at the to address sort of the fear that people have about AI displacing jobs. Well, think of what you just said. A little anecdote was really instructive. You didn't put anyone out of work in any of that interaction. It allowed you to respond more quickly to business exigencies, to business needs. And there wasn't anything that it didn't close anyone out of the loop. There's nobody that was working then now because you need to move more rapidly and to respond more rapidly to the evolving business case, which is, and that business case being trying to get this site live before I go broke.
Yeah. Well, I mean, imagine scheduling a photo shoot. I mean, we've done photo shoots in the past. I've spent 30 years doing photo shoots.
We photo shoots over the last 20 years.
And so for us to be able to get on there and actually produce all of the all the elements and the copy, I mean, in basically near real time, unbelievable. It's just fantastic. Yeah. So the stuff that we're doing with my AI agency and working with Perlini and Perlage, the two products there underneath the Perlage systems has been fantastic. I mean, it really it gives the team something to really focus on. We're developing a lot of things that are obviously we're going to be adding those to our intellectual property. It's not just a one-off. So I mean, we will generate millions of dollars with these particular landing pages. And landing pages, it's really interesting. People really, I mean, I'm in the industry, and it hasn't been until, I mean, I will say fairly recent, that I really started studying the power of landing pages. And by far, they have completely surpassed the value of a website. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, the website power, I mean, is okay. There's a lot of websites that do good, but the marketing is in the landing pages, or it's in an app. I mean, it's in like a full on, like Amazon.com kind of a behemoth. But I would say that, that's not just a website. That's a full on application, online application. But for years, so right. Many, I don't know how many companies are into their applications. Like an example, there's a lot of companies that are app driven. I mean, apps are huge, right? Everyone is developing apps. But from a marketing standpoint, when you start looking at social media marketing, it is the landing page. It is absolutely the landing page. And you and I have done some deep dives into some landing pages and kind of analyze them and stuff like that. Yeah. And especially when you know that they're just selling like something silly, like a pair of sunglasses or some sort of widget and this sort of thing, but they're making millions. They're just it's just a moneymaker. It reminds me of the old QVC days. You remember at the middle of the night, the infomercials?
Yep.
The people are just like surfing and doing this and that. Next thing you know, like, oh, what's this? Next thing you know, you got a set of Ginsu steak knives and some sort of orange juicer peeler. But wait, there's more.
But wait.
But no, I think that I was just thinking about today. I'm like, oh, we are literally in the Christmas season in development for landing pages, and I need to actually get on that and start promoting for people who have a product, who want to hit the Christmas season. Like right now we're talking about the summer sale, but right after the summer sale, we're going to be hitting the Christmas. We're going to be developing a Christmas sale for sure, because that is your big season.
In terms of with my product line, that's our big season.
Well, not only commercially, but I think business to consumer is going to be huge. I mean, this is the perfect gift for a home mixologist, connoisseur, wine connoisseur, champagne connoisseur. I mean, for the guy who has everything, this is it.
Well, I certainly agree with that.
And we started talking.
Can I get back to one point? I was vaguely aware of the term landing page before we started this project, but I hadn't really understood how important it was. How long has this been a thing? How long have I not known about this?
You know what? I mean, I haven't been a web guy. I've been an IT guy, right? So, but as far as I think landing page is something that I saw inside of a term somewhere. And then it began to make sense after I see these sites that are just going a long page, right? And it's all the sales is there, but there's no menu, there's no clicking, there's no this, but all of the sales elements and the call to actions and everything else are all on this one page. And I realized, actually, when I realized, I'll tell you, there's a funny story. So I'm sitting here and, once I'm in the algorithm, I'm getting all of this AI stuff, right? All this agency stuff in my news feeds, blah, blah, blah. And then I see this, you could be a white label agency provider. We've put together 30, 50 templates, whatever it is to help you start your company. And I know what it's like to develop one form, right? One. And I just remember telling you this. I said, what do I hate doing? That's right in my bailiwick. That's like, I don't like creating documents and forms and this and that. So sure enough, I get on this. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to spend the $45. I'm going to spend the $50, right? I'm going to buy these templates and they're white labels. So I'm just going to hire someone to put my logo on them. And then this will give me all the marketing collateral I need to go out there and interface with clients and gather all the information I need in order to, start this AI, agency business, right? So I put in my credit card. I'm buying this and it's like $45. And then I scroll down and I'm like, but you can add this for an extra $55, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I definitely need that. I would need that for Instagram too. Yeah. And I would need this. So I'm sitting here, I'm going, yeah. And I'm scrolling and I'm like adding and I'm scrolling. And it's like, and then we've got our full on series that teaches you how, to use all of these applications, and it does this. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, video for sure. I would want to have the video education behind how to set up all these things. And then I would want the marketing concepts as well. Now it's going to explain to me how all these systems work. So I'm adding and I'm adding and I'm adding. And then by the time I hit the pay button, it's $650.
That's where they get you.
And I'm like, and I looked at this number and like $650. They took me from $35 to $650 like that. And I'm like, damn them. And you know what? I'm going to buy it because that's exactly what I want to learn how to do. So, it's like if they got me at $35 and then I'm exiting out of this system at $600. That's what I want to learn. So
you had me at $35.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it was just like, it was supposed to be $35 and that's it. I mean, it was just like, like a couple of cocktails. That was it. And next thing you know, $650 later, I've got like this whole media package. And the sad part is I never clicked on it because AI, once I discovered how to use the AI, I'm like, I could have just created this all myself. It's like these guys, they're like these guys that are like selling these like AI, these like prompt Bibles, like the prompt Bible, right?
Yep.
You just go into ChatGPT and say, give me 1,000 prompts. That's all they did. They're like, okay, give me 1,000 prompts to help me in marketing or help me in this and this. And then it's like, okay, now make it into a book format. Okay. And then you ship it off to a publisher and then you sell the 1,000 prompts. Like if you use these 1,000 prompts in GPT, you'll be, doing this. And that's all they did. So every once in a while, I just comments like, why would I want to buy the book? Don't you just say, give me 1,000 prompts?
Well, I've learned that all I have to do to get something done is just delay slightly before I type a response on the keyboard, and you'll already have the answer. I'll have just a wall of text on WhatsApp.
The wall of text.
All I have to do is just delay a little bit.
It is really that powerful. And I wish, I wish it was something I could take the credit for, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm giving you the credit.
Yeah.
We have people in the chat. Shout out to Penny Lane.
Oh,
Jordanina. Hello, Jason. Aisha.
Oh, Evan. Yep. Who else do we have? Fritz is there. Leanna is there.
Leanna was there. Is she still there?
Wait, can we? What happens if I click show? Is there a show?
Is there? We don't even know. We're new to this.
Oh, look at that right on the bottom of our ticker.
I don't know.
Any ideas about what is that? BIM Cloud. What is BIM Cloud?
What is that?
I don't know. What's BIM Cloud?
I don't know.
Do I need to Google that?
Georgelina will have to.
I will get back to that. I'll come back, Georgelina. I will come back to what is BIM Cloud. You better not be associated with BIM Cloud, Georgelina. I just want to let you know if that's a cheap way of advertising for me to look up your company and then respond what BIM Cloud is.
If I get up to refill my drink, if I get up, will my camera shut off?
Oh, good question. You've got 60 seconds, Mr. Wallace. Are you going to refresh? Are you going to do an in-flight refueling?
I am. I'll be right back.
Yep, there we go.
I'm back.
Whoa, you did an in-flight refueling that fast?
I did.
Damn, that's impressive.
I would like to introduce my dog to this podcast.
Really? Does he get his own? We need to set up a separate camera for him. You know that, right?
This is Pal.
Oh, Pal. Hey, Pal.
Pal's on camera.
Pal. Pal is quite the ladies' man. I've seen him numerous times.
Pal's got me in quite a lot of trouble this summer.
We will not go there. We will not go there.
Pal, you can go back to.
So everything is looking great on your end. I'm kind of like held up in the hotel, working around the clock for the next 2 or 3 days, and we're going to be launching your site soon. And we've got some specials. We got a 50% off happening with your product, and that is a price that hasn't been adjusted for market value, and we took a 50% discount on it. And I was thinking, because we were talking about that, right? I mean, to be honest, that's what you do. I mean, if you're going to raise a price, you better do it before you mark it down to 50%, right?
Exactly.
I won't say what the price is, but it's less than a bottle of nice champagne.
Indeed, it is. Unless you buy from Lanny,
and
that's an inside joke.
Lanny, you're a dog. If you see this, Lanny, you're a dog. There are a few people on this earth I will call a dog, but Lanny, you were a dog. You still owe me $300 worth of champagne, Lanny. There is karma. I just want to let you know that, Lanny. You owe me $300 worth of. You owe me $300 worth of champagne, Lanny. I gave you the $300 and then you disappeared. Now, if I wasn't such a nice and forgiving guy, and if you weren't the main supplier to my closest friend, Mr. Wallace here, unspeakable things would happen. That's not a threat. That's a promise. I have to keep this. Evan, how many bottles of champagne you got right now?
I have 250 bottles of champagne waiting for your arrival.
And that's valued at millions of pesos. Just by the way, in Philippine land, that is millions of pesos worth of champagne over there. And we're gonna ship. How do we ship? How do we get a small container of that shipped over here to the Philippines? That's what I want to know.
I don't think there's gonna be any left after you're here, so that's kind of.
Oh, I'm gonna enjoy champagne. I'm not a big drinker, but I do enjoy champagne. But after the second bottle or the third bottle, and you want to preserve it, that's where Perlage Systems comes in. Boom.
That was a great.
You like that? You like that?
That was a great wrap up.
Penny Lane, yes, you need to come back to Seattle. We need to hang out. I will be back. I will be in Seattle and Spokane and basically
In a
U.S.
matter of
from the countdown has begun. I arrive on the 26th and I fly back with Mr. Wallace to Asia on October 18th. And we're going to be doing an Asian tour of Perlini and Perlage, hitting some bars, showing off some product. Probably our next podcast, I'll get a hold of a great mixologist here and his wife in the Philippines. And we're going to be sending out some product to him. And so we'll ask him to do an unboxing and do a little demo for my friends here in the Philippines. And let you know, he's out in El Nido, by the way. And he's also a bar consultant here in the Philippines. He flies all over the place, trains bars and restaurants how to get set up. And he is going to be showing off and demoing the Perlini and the Perlage systems, which will be available in the Philippines. Fantastic, right? So that's it. A little plug, little shameless plug. At the end of the show, like all, because we don't make advertising dollars on viewerships or anything else. So that's I have an AI company called EOL, Expert AI and Optimization Lab. We work with companies to bring them into the AI space, work with their marketing and development, internal, front of the office, back office, marketing, website, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to do some cool stuff, get a hold of me. Shoot me a message. Pretty soon you'll be able to take a look at my website, and it's in development. There you go. There's our shame. There's our shameful plugs. Evan?
We're at perlagesystems.com and follow us on Facebook at Facebook/Perlage Systems and on Instagram at the same handle.
There we go. Facebook.com.
This is fun. Let's do this again.
And you can follow me at here, Facebook.com/Kronick. That's my last name, Wesley Kronick. Take care. Evan, we're one day closer to hanging out.
I love you, and I will see
Love
you
too,
in,
brother.
hang on here, 4 days.